In the previous lesson, I created a classable variable called myNumber as a double value and set it equal to 0. And I also demonstrated that what I really wanted was to set it to a cast of double from txtnum.text. But if we run that, we get an error because txtnum does not exist at this point when it's declaring that variable. I can't initialize it with a value from a control on the form. So how do we get around that? Set it back to 0. Well, we can use what's called the load event of the form. I'm going to go back to my design. I'm going to double click anywhere on the form, but not on any control. So I'm going to double click on the form. And that creates a form load event handler that handles myBase.load. And here what I can do is take my number and say it is equal to cdbl txtnum.text. Load event occurs when our form first comes on screen. We can use that load event to do things such as initializing variables, maybe changing properties of different controls. Maybe I have an instructions label that I don't want to enter text into the text property on the design mode, but maybe I have it load something from a website somewhere into that text property. That could happen on form load. Let's watch this run. So I'm not going to get the number, but notice if I say double it, I get a value of 14.5. And if I say triple it, I get a value of 21.75. Even though I never loaded the number because the number was loaded upon the loading of the form. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go back to my design. I'm going to delete that get number button. And instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to code this so that anytime I change the value that's in this text box, it'll automatically load into the myNumber. So I'm going to double click on this text box, and now I'm getting a txtnum.text changed, and I'm simply going to copy the code from my load and put this in here so that myNumber equals cdbl txtnum.text. Now let's run this. So again, there's my double it. But if I were to change this value, let's say it's 30, and click double it, now I'm getting 60. Because as I modify the text of the text field, it's setting that value of my number. Makes for a little simpler interface. I don't have to worry about ever getting that number. It's automatically updated to whatever's in the text box, including when the form first loads. We'll do more probably with the load form in future projects. But this introduces what's happening with that load event. If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the Programming Practicum playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos I create, you can click my picture in the top right to subscribe to the channel.